All right, hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to today's stream. I am very excited because I might not sound it. My voice is a bit flat at the moment, but I am excited because we're 3 away from 3,000 followers on Twitch. Now, I think we're going to get there today. So if you haven't already, hit the follow button. And I'm seeing BM Ribeiro's his first time chat. You definitely haven't, I'm pretty sure. You haven't followed yet. So hit the follow button and let's get to 3,000 in the next few minutes. And then we can move on and actually do some poker study. Let's have a look at the chat. So Fuzzy Ferret, how's it going, Ben? Says afternoon. Gaz, Principal 22 says hi, how's it going? Mr. Jam, good afternoon, peeps. How's it going, Ryan? And let's have a look here. Mr. Jam says, won a sat to the 109 main event on Stans. I was playing well. Decent chip lead, but I messed up. I adjusted the language there. One turn play versus super aggro guy and lost, never recovered. Well, unlucky. Funny Money says, good morning, Gareth. Good morning. How's it going? Lee Loro Poker says, afternoon, Gaz. All right. How's it going? Good to see you guys. We've got some people watching on YouTube as well. Zahil says, let's go. Sergey says, what? Pio? How about GTO Wizard, bro? Well, we won't be doing Pio or GTO Wizard. I forgot to update the stream title on YouTube. And I have now changed it to Attacking Small Blind Limps, Preflop and Postflop Strategy. And that is what we're going to be focusing on today. I'm going to see if this works. It does. Looks all right, I think. Let's do this. So I hope everyone's doing well. As you probably know by the fact that you're here, is that this is what happens at 4 o'clock every Monday. We do a study stream. I call it a study stream, but actually we want to do some training as well. I'm going to show you the difference today between study and training and why you need to do both if you want to get really good at poker or really good at anything, to be honest. All right, so let's get into it. Let me explain what's going on. I don't see that follow account going up on Twitch, guys. If you're watching on Twitch and you haven't hit that follow button yet and you want to, definitely do it now so we can get to 3,000 early doors. All right, what are we going to do today? So as I mentioned before, we are going to be doing some small blind versus big blind stuff. So what I'm going to do is fold this around and we're at 30 big blinds here. This is 30 big blind, 9-handed pre-flop sims. And what we're going to do is the small blind is going to limp and we are going to look at what we should be raising from the big blind. Now, this is a really common leak that I see. So anyone that comes into my programs, anyone I start working with privately as well, we'll look at like some pre-flop stuff to see if there's some really big outliers, some really big things that you could be working on. And attacking small blind limps tends to be one that a lot of people get wrong. So when the small blind limps, the big blind should be raising a certain amount. I'm going to throw it over to you guys. What do you think that percentage is? In the chat, just type in a percentage. So like 10%, 100%, 60%, 25%. What do you think the number is? How aggressive should we be in attacking small blind limps? Okay, let's have a look at some of these then. So we've got Principal 22 says 40%. Mr. Jam, very around 70%. Pump up the price is 33. We've got 40, 43, 70, 75, 43.5, 80, and 44.9. All right. So I would say that some of you are very, very good and some of you are way off. 80, 43.5. Okay, cool. So let me show you this one first, because this is, let's see if I can show you this a little bit better. This is our range viewer. I mean, you can see the URL there, but you won't be able to access it unless you are a member. You can always try. What we've got here is our preflop range tool, and we can, you can see all the different sort of situations that we've got in the middle, the different stack sizes, and then what happens. So what we're really focusing on, not ideal because I want to really show you everything on one screen. I wonder if I can, I'm not sure it's going to get small enough and then it might mess things up. So we've gone for first small blind action is a limp, and then first big blind action. And this is what the strategy will look like. And down the bottom, I'm going to make this a bit bigger. Whoops. Or maybe not. Let's try again. I'm going to make this a bit bigger so that you can see the different frequencies down the bottom here. So yeah, I recognize it might be quite small. If you're watching on full screen, then great. So we've got folding. There shouldn't be any folding because I'm not sure what is going on. But you can see there's little bits of white here. So we've got some work to do with this tool. But there's a tiny bit of where the rounding has basically gone too far down and left like a tiny percent of folds in there. So anyway, there shouldn't be any folds. Checking 54.3%, raising 43.5%, and jamming 2.1%. Now, this has been set up to raise only really, really small, 2.8x at 30 big blinds, and obviously jamming for 30 bigs, 2.8%. Now, if we can also look at, say, 100% versus a limp, 44.9%. We've got 80 big blinds versus a limp, 42.1%. 60 big blinds, 45.3. 50 bigs versus a limp, 43.4. Even if we get to like 20 bigs versus a limp, we've got 35.2 raising and 9.4 jamming. So really, the average number is like 40 to 45%. So if you said any number between 40 and 45, you absolutely nailed it. Now, I don't know what the answer is going to be here because I know that this sim has been set up, or the sims are used for this particular preflop situation, has been set up to 4 big blinds. Now, what I don't know is what effect that's going to have. Does it mean we raise more or raise less? And if the small blind knows we're going to raise to 4x, what kind of effect does that have on us and therefore them and their limping range and stuff like that? So we'll get into that in a bit more detail. But anyway, I wanted to give you that sort of caveat, just in case this number now comes out like 38 or 48 or something outside of that 40 to 45% number. Let's have a look. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we've got 33.9 and 5.1. Yeah, so I think that's what we would kind of expect, that if we're going to raise bigger, we can't raise as wide. If we can raise to 3.5 or 2.8, which was what we had in my sim, I think 3.5 would probably be a better number. So we might update our range viewer. In fact, I feel like we might have those updated ranges in here already. Let me just check. Yeah, we do, because we've got a brand new range viewer. Let's look at this. This is our ICM viewer. And we have, these are at 3.5x instead. So you can see now that we've got different, raised 3.5x here. So 39.1 and then jamming 3.1. So that's not, too far off where I think we need to be. So you can see like all these offsuit hands that we're going to be doing a lot of raising with. We've obviously got some hands for value like 5s and 6s plus, and then big ace X and decent broadways. And then we've got a lot of checking with the suited stuff. And so that's basically the makeup of the range. So we've got a raising for value at the top. We've got this sort of garbage, junky hands, offsuit hands raising as a bluff. And then we've got the suited hands, which pretty much check all the time. And that's a really common heuristic you're going to find in the big blind when you play sort of shallower stack depths. So you're going to find that you check a lot with your suited hands. Let's go back to here. So let's just see if this is what's happening here as well. Yeah, so pretty much the same. As I said, like if you raise bigger, so we saw that if you raise to 2.8, you could raise a lot more. If you raise to 3.5, you could if I said that wrong. If you raise to 4, you can only raise 33.9 plus 5.1% jamming. If you raise to 3.5, you can raise a bit more, and if you raise to 2.8, you can raise even more. Okay. Question here, what is the 50% and 25% next to the chippy V at the top right of the viewer? This is something we're just developing at the moment, adding in ranges for 50% and 25% of the field left. I know that there is a lot of debate about that in the industry at the moment, so we like to make it available, but also we keep in the chippy V solutions in there as well. So if you're someone that doesn't believe or trust in the 50%, 25% of the field left yet, then that's okay. You can just click on the chippy V, and that's totally fine. Okay, so yeah, the idea here then is we've got 5s and 6s plus, we've got some good ace X hands, decent broadways, and then we've got a lot of these offsuit sort of hands that we'll raise. Now, and then finally the suited hands do a lot of checking. Now I mentioned earlier on that we want to take a look at the difference between studying and training, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that now. So studying is basically, we can look at this situation. We can say, okay, first of all, we recognize we're not attacking small blind limps enough. If you've got Poker Tracker, you can download a custom stat from their website, which is, it's called Big Blind Raise over Small Blind Limp, or Big Blind Raise after Small Blind Limp. And it will show you how aggressive you are facing a small blind limp. If your number is not between 40 and 45%, like if it's too low, then you're not aggressive enough. If it's like way over 45%, maybe that's fine. Maybe you think that people just over limp and then fold. That could be fine as well. But generally, if it's not between 40 and 45%, then it's an area to focus on. Now, if you like this approach, this is basically our system within MTT Poker School and both of my training programs, all right, which is Train and Play Like the Pros and MTT Poker Academy. What we do is we first identify the leak. Then we make a plan to fix it. And today I'm going to show you like how you might go about doing that if you're not attacking small blind limps enough. All right. Jack Rag says, what do you think about the ICM stuff, 25%, etc. left? Probably for another episode, another stream, because I kind of want to focus on this. We're going to just be looking at Chip EV today. But I think we could spend hours discussing the pros and cons of it. In a nutshell, I think that I want to focus on what we're going to do today. Okay, so as I mentioned before, the difference between study and training there. So we're studying the range, and we've got an idea now about the range. When we click on drill, we now get to train in a similar way to how we might do in when we play, right? And this is quite important because you can study ranges, you can look at preflop ranges, you can look at postflop sims. You can also watch training videos, but actually applying it and finding a way to drill these spots is super, super important. So if you don't have that element to your training to your training routine right now, you've definitely got to put it in. So we know that there are a lot of offsuit hands that will mix here between check and raise. I think 3 deuce off is probably too bad, but I'm going to be honest. I'm going to go back here quickly and say, okay. And say that like there might be some differences in the ranges because we're raising 4x now and not 3.5 or 2.8. Okay, so you can see like a lot of the offsuit hands. I'm definitely going to make some mistakes here, by the way, guys. So I'm just having a look at this. Where are there no mixes? It's basically the offsuited connectors, Jack 10 all the way down. But there is some mixing here. I think if we just went with check back with these, I think we'd probably do pretty well. But there's some mixing in here. Not any mixing with these offsuit hands, but anyway, let's go in and have a look. So King 7 off is probably a mix, as you can see. Queen deuce off, I think there was some mixing there, but it was like slightly better queens that mixed. That just checked back. This is definitely going to be a raise for value. This is going to be a check back. It's one of those suited hands that we talked about that you just do a lot of checking with. Jack 9 off, I think there's probably more checking than raising. Yeah, so 90.4% and a bit of raising. 10-8 off, similar thing going on. Remember we saw that there was a very clear pattern. Shout out to Jack Rag for subscribing. Appreciate that. How are we doing on the follow front, by the way? Still at 2997, guys. How is this happening? Maybe everyone who is watching today, shout out to you guys, you've already followed on Twitch. But if you haven't yet, then click that follow button because we want to try and get to 3,000 followers today I was going to say that in the first few minutes, but hasn't moved, guys. Come on, let's go. Anyway, shout out to Jack Rag for subscribing. Appreciate that. So there was a clear pattern, right? There we had the offsuits connected hands that were doing. Yes, J Pena 76. Thanks for the follow. We've got 2 more to go, guys. 2 more. That's it. And then we had like the next level down was going to probably do a lot more checking than raising, and as we got sort of worse and worse, we would do more raising. That's kind of how I see it anyway. Suited hand, we're going to check back. There was like a suited hand. Was it 6-2 suited potentially? They went for the raise. U3BI4B, thanks for the follow. We need 1 more, guys, and we're going to get to 3,000, which is really exciting. 7's good enough to raise for sure. Jack 7 off, check and raise, I imagine. Yeah, pretty even split. There we go, guys. Nagana 1 flip. Shout out to you. You are the 3,000th follower. Unfortunately, there's no prize for being that, but you can always say that you were the 3,000th follower on the MTT Poker School Twitch account. That's pretty cool. All right, well, shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for following, and we're going to carry on going through. Jack 4 off, probably a mix again. Yep, looks good. 6-3 off, probably a mix again. Suited hand, probably just going to check back. Looks good. 6-4 off, mixing. Mixing. Check back. See if we can get 25 in a row. Threes. I think threes was an all-in, right? Yep. Okay, 17 out of 17. Ace queen suited going to be enough to raise for value. 10-8 off was check and raise a little bit. We're checking back with 9-3 suited. King deuce off. Mixing between check and raise. Definitely more checking. Actually, look at this. There's something else. There's actually some jamming going on here with king deuce off as well. I assume you can get better king x hands to fold. And you just unblock folds, right? There aren't too many 2x hands because it's not like you're getting 8-2 off, 7-2 off, 6-2 off, 5-2 off to fold because those hands should fold pre anyway. King 6 is going to be a check back. 3 more to go. This is a raise for value. 2 more to go, check back. And 1 more, check back. Okay, we did it. Whew! 25 out of 25. Guys, in the chat, does anyone have any questions so far about what we've looked at? Basically, the idea with versus small blind limps is we're aiming for 40 to 45%, unless you want to raise big, which is what this sim does, and raises to 4x. But I mean, it's still raising, that's 34 and that's 5.1s, or 5-ish. So that's like 39. So it's almost at that 40 to 45% mark anyway, right? The general idea is that you check your suited hands, you mix your offsuit stuff, you raise your value hands, for value, obviously. You jam like pairs and ace-x. There's a bit of jamming with king deuce as we saw. And then that's pretty much it. I think I like miss some of these sometimes. I feel like I check back too frequently. I mean, look how sort of frequently these two hands go for it. So I would say that that's my own leak that I would probably want to fix. All right, let's have a look at the chat. Doesn't look like there are any questions, which either means that you've all fallen asleep or I've answered everything that you needed to know so far. What we're going to do now, we're going to try and do 25 together, and all you need to do is to tell me whether you want to check, raise, or jam in the chat. And we're going to go quite fast. Hugo on YouTube says the idea is to check hands that will have draws. That's really cool. That's a really nice sort of way to think about it. So the suited hands are more likely to have draws, obviously, and the offsuit connected hands as well. That's pretty cool. All right, so tell me what you want to do. I like how most of you are doing like letters rather than like, yeah, you can put X for check, R for raise, or A, I, or A for all in, or maybe you could do like J for jam. Okay, we'll do that. So X, R, and J. That's all you need to do. So what we're going to do with nines here, we've already got quite a few votes for raise, which is awesome. I'm just going with the general consensus. Okay. So Hill, I've seen your message. How does this change when deeper stacks? We are just going to be focusing on 30 bigs, but if you hold that question, I'm going to try and remember to come back to it. Okay. 5-3 off, guys. What are we doing? And I suppose if there is any mixing, then you can just put that into, you can just put mix X R if that's what you think. Okay. So we've got raise, check, raise, check. Yeah, I think this is one that's going to mix, right? This is one that's going to mix. So looks good. Okay, pocket fives. Is that good enough to raise for value, or do we need to check back, or can we jam instead? We're now into fives, guys. I hope there's not too much of a delay here. I think there's maybe a little bit. We've got jam from Master of the Chaos says for this one. We've got mix, raise, and check. We've got jam, mix, check, raise, mix, raise, and check. I feel like there might be a little bit of a delay on the YouTube as well. We might only do 10 of these because it takes quite a while. I feel like the consensus here is just to jam, raise, and jam. I would sooner go. Well, actually, no, maybe it is mixed between raise and jam. Well, I'm going to go with you guys. All in, yeah, and raise. Good. Well done, guys. Very, very good. Queen 4 suited, what are we doing now? We're on to the next one. Check, raise, or jam. Check, 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 check. Yep, very good. This is one of those suited hands. Okay. I think there must be a massive delay on YouTube. I have no idea why, because on Twitch everyone's already typing in check, 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 and on YouTube you're still with the pocket fives. So we'll see how we go. Jack 10 off is an interesting one. We did talk about this. Shout out to Latinio7 for the first time chat. If you haven't yet done so, hit the follow button if you want to. We've got check. We've got some checks with some more checks. Yeah, this is one of those offsuit hands that we wanted to check, like the Jack 10, 10 9, 9 8, stuff like that. 3 deuce off. What are we doing now? Let's keep things going, guys. We're only going to do 5 more, and then let's take a look at some post-flop stuff. Okay, so we got some votes for raise. Remember that you can mix, guys, and quite a lot of those hands we discussed earlier were mixes. They weren't pure raises or pure checks. Okay, so yeah, we've got some mixes here. We got raise, and we're probably going to check the rest. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. 6-4 off. What do we reckon? We check, raise, or jam. I suppose if it does mix the jamming as well, like all 3 options, should I say, like King Deuce off did, then we should say mix, check, raise, jam. Check, raise, yeah, I think so. Check and raise, very good. Queen 10 off. Oh, this is a curveball. This is definitely a curveball. What do we think here, guys? Do we think check back, raise to 4, or jam, or do you prefer a mix? Fat Sunny TV, thanks for the follow. Check or raise, raise a check, check, raise. Okay, so I think most are saying check first. Okay, so mainly check and a little bit of raising as well. All right, 9-6 off. What do you reckon here, guys? 9-6 off. On to the next one. I'm going to do this one and one more. Raise, check. Okay. So I can see some of you are like going like, yes, it's definitely just one of the actions. Now remember, these offsuit hands are the ones that mix quite hard, right? So they mix between check and raise. So if you are just going for one action, you might want to reconsider it for the offsuit stuff. For the suited stuff, like we had Queen 4 suited earlier, 10-3 suited, like those are just going to be check backs, okay? But I think, yeah, we're going to see some mixing again here. And we're going to do one more, ace 7 off. Is this good enough to raise for value, or should we just check back? Or maybe it's good enough to jam. What do you guys think now? So the final one for 10 out of 10 as a team for you guys. Arton says jam. Graham 11 says check raise. Mr. Jam's gone for all in. Latino says check or raise. Funny Money says raise or check. Master of the Chaos says raise. Principal 22 says check or raise. Lee Loro gone for pure check again. Lee, you've gone for some pure moves the whole way through this. I feel like you've not done any mixing, especially with some of the offsuit stuff. Who was that just followed? C Stars 23. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. Okay, so the general is kind of a mix, so maybe it's all 3 options this time. It's definitely not check. The mix is between raise and jam. So we didn't do too badly. Shout out to bottom guy with one eye, very funny name. What was this? Ace 7 off. Yeah, okay, this is really good. So we can raise ace 7 plus. There shouldn't be any checking with ace 7 and better. But we're mixing between raise and jam. So you didn't do too badly, guys. You got 9 out of 10, and yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so we're gonna go into post flop now, and I'll explain a little bit what's going on. Papa de Toss 69, thanks for the follow. What we're gonna do is look at 30 big blinds, limp, raise, call, and let me just show you what's going on here. So I recognize it might be small if you're watching on your phone. If you're watching in, glorious HD, then you should be able to see this. We've got small blind calls obviously for half a big blind, and then the big blind raises to 3.3 and the small blind calls. So these ranges, these strategies are not going to be quite the same as the preflop ones, because the preflop sims run for 4x and the postflop is run for 3.3. So just kind of bear that in mind when we look at these solutions. So and this is big blind, and so what you can see is, once again, we've got all of these kind of hands in. I don't even know what color you would call this, but the top of the range is going to raise for value. We've got a lot of the offsuit hands going for a raise as well, but it doesn't look like ace deuce, ace three, king two, king three, king four. What's that? It's probably seven deuce off. Yeah, seven deuce off, twos, threes, and fours. Doesn't look like they want to raise. Those hands are either going to jam like twos, threes, and fours, or maybe there's some king three off or ace deuce off wants to jam as well. Or in the case of seven deuce off what on earth is seven deuce? Oh, it's just going to check back, of course. So all of the offsuit hands are going to mix. The suited hands do a lot of checking back, apart from the really bad ones that seem to do some mixing. So the principles are kind of the same. But I think that we might find some post-flop spots where there's some more suited hands that we're like, but they don't raise. They should have checked back. And that's right. That's true if we were going to go for a 4x raise or maybe even like a 3.5, like a slightly bigger raise size. Some of these would drop out. So the 0.1s, I think, would more likely to check. Okay. Hugo, small blind calling our raise means his range is capped. Right. Good, very good. Yeah. So this is a small blind strategy. So you can see that none of the pairs are in there because they would either raise pre, they would jam pre, or they would limp and then jam versus when we attack the small blind limp. So none of the pairs are in there. None of the really good hands are in there, but there's still some ace-x hands in here all the way down to like ace-9 off and ace-6 suited. We've got some king-jack suited, queen-jack suited. The one thing I want to sort of draw your attention to is just the sheer number of king-x hands in this range. So there's quite a lot of suited kings in here and some decent offsuit as well. Now, if we look at our king-x hands, we've got the offsuit stuff, but there's some missing in here. We don't have them all down the offsuit region. And then the suit stuff, we're just going to check back. Remember, we were going to check back a lot of those suited hands. So in a moment, we're going to take a look at the imposition report and see what we're supposed to do on king-high boards. And I think this is where, I think king-high boards are one of those where some players seem to get it wrong. They just feel like, oh, well, king-high board's better for me. I've got ace-king. I've got, king-queen. I can just bet here a lot. And that's not the case because of what the small blinds range looks like. Mr. Jam says, what do these colors mean? So, the colors just represent how frequently those hands appear in the range. So like this color here is 100%, so the 100%. I think like the really dark color becomes like 0.1, just not very often in there at all. White is in there never, not at all. And then the sort of the lighter this brownie color gets, the more frequent the hand is in the range. Okay. So for example, like 8-2 suited is in there 0.8% of the time. It's a slightly lighter color than say 8-4 suited that's in there 30% of the time. All right, let's take a look at out of position report first. I've not done this before on this stream, so you can see it's not quite set up to be visible. That should be okay though. That is quite small, but should be okay. What I want to see is if there's any boards where the small blind donks, not because we're going to be playing from the small blind, but because I want to see like, oh, are there going to be some boards where we need to defend? Like, should we expect to see some leads? So looks to me like kind of connected boards. Yeah, low connected boards, but some king and queen high stuff. Seeing these king high boards in here doesn't surprise me, given how many king X hands we just saw in the small blind's calling range, the limp calling range. But yeah, the most frequent one is going to be this 10-9-8 board. So that's a good one to watch out for. Oh, that's frustrating to have to go back. Let's see. This looks really small. I'll make this bigger in a moment, guys, but we don't need to for now. Limp raise call. I played 109 hands and I'm not doing too badly. Right, in position report. This should fill the screen a bit more. Davo Bebe 1 says thanks as followed, so thank you for that. All right, so first of all, look at this. Can I just say, I just need to shout DTO out here because I've been asking for this for ages to be able to filter these different, these different textures and types and high cards. So what we can do now is just literally go to king high boards. Maybe we do connected and disconnected, so we take the pairs out. And you can see that on average, column average, look, 52% checking on king high boards. Now, if you're surprised by that, I mean, I did just say that, this is a spot where a lot of people get it wrong. The king high boards are the ones where we see a lot more checking, just simply because the small blind has just a decent, like a huge chunk of limp calls with some king X hands, and we don't raise too many king X, especially the suited ones, right? So we got to be aware of that when we go into to drill these spots in a moment. Now, I'm just going to throw it out there. Oh, you can't see the flops. Oh, that's really frustrating. Sorry, guys. Who just said that? Mitch Villa. Thanks, Mitch. That is really small. I don't know if you guys can even see that. Maybe if you're watching full screen. That is really small. So yeah, anyway, so the king high boards. I mean, I did just filter by king X, so you should know that it's king high boards. But yeah, there we go. So lots of checking. I wonder. Yeah, the highest frequency bet is a king 7-4 board, and that's only 57%, right? That's really, really quite low. Let's compare that instead to like some ace high boards. So now on ace high boards, look, we bet 86% of the time. The boards where we don't bet very frequently have a king in them. Well, that's interesting, apart from this ace king 4 board. Let's have a look. So total, in fact, it's easier to look at the check board. So like ace king queen, ace king jack, ace king 3, ace king jack, ace queen jack, ace queen jack. Okay, so watching out for those ones, and then some monotone boards in here as well. But ace high boards we're going to play pretty aggressively. Let's take a look at some paired boards now. So paired boards kind of mixing a lot of checking with like on the king high and queen high boards, sort of the lower boards, but then any of the higher card boards, well, I say that, but 10-5-5 is in there as very high frequency bet. So basically betting a lot on paired boards, apart from where we would see a lot of king X and queen X hands in our opponent's range. How else are we going to do this? I would do like king or queen high not connected, so disconnected. Yeah, mixing between bet and check. In fact, let's just take the king X hands out. A little bit more betting, I would say, on queen high boards. Let's just confirm that. Yeah, so more betting on queen high boards, but not overly. This is still disconnected, so let's do jack and 10 high boards. A lot more betting, but there is a decent amount of checking. Monotone. Yeah, so potentially more connected, but yeah, we're doing this really quickly, by the way, guys. So like normally what I would do when I was this is an example of studying frequencies and things like that, is to sort of get a better idea of this. I would literally just write down like, this is what we're going to do on paired boards, unless it's this happens. This is what we're going to do on ace high boards. This is what we're going to do on king high boards, etc. Shout out to Danny Charnley. Thanks for the follow. So yeah, we're doing all this. I mean, we're going to now see, we're going to put like loads of low stuff in here and do some low connected. Low connected, just a lot of checking. You see mix between bet and check. And then disconnected, a tiny bit more betting, ever so slightly, but not too much. And let's have a look at monotone boards. Monotone, kind of a mix as well. Okay, so lots of kind of things to think about. I'm not going to spend too long on this, though, as I mentioned. We're now going to go, have to choose our spot again. Danny Charnley, thanks for subscribing. Appreciate that. We're going to make this bigger because you guys, there's no way you guys can see that. There we go. And we're actually going to play this, but we want to make sure that we're always in position because that's what we've just focused on. All right. So if you've just joined the stream, what we're doing is we're going through the system that we use at MTT Poker School in both of my programs and when I work one-on-one with students, and that is to identify leaks. So the leak that we identified was that we're not attacking small blind limps aggressively enough. We've now seen how we're going to go about that, what kind of hands we're going to raise, and it's not going to be suited hands, certainly at 30 big blinds. It's going to be more of the offsuit garbage hands and the strong pairs and ace-X and Broadway hands, right? So we know what's going to go on, but now we want to see like, okay, we're going to take that one step further. When I do sessions like this, I see a lot of sort of improvement in attacking small blind limps, but then sort of a but now I don't know what to do post-flop. Normally I would just check, and I'm a bit nervous about getting to the flop with like 8-2 off or 6-3 off, any of these 5 deuce off. That's in range. Okay, any of these kind of offsuit hands, I don't know what to do. But remember, you're playing your whole range, and that's why we looked at what to do on the different textures. But yeah, we want to try and be focused with the study. This is something that Dr. Tricia Cardner and I talk about in our book, Purposeful Practice for Poker. It's about being focused and specific with the study you want to do. That's what purposeful and deliberate practice is all about. If you are interested in that book, you can get it on Amazon and DMB's website. And I believe all of the other bookstores like Waterstones and what other bookstores are there? Can't remember. But also, I've got a new book coming out this year, which you can pre-order, and you'll probably see it in a moment. It'll come down here where it says free strategy on YouTube right now. You can click. You'll see what the new book is called in a moment, and you can also pre-order it. So if you're on Twitch, you can type in command new book. If someone wants to do that, that'd be amazing. And you can actually pre-order my new book, which is called The Final Table, with foreword by the one and only Phil Hellmuth, which is pretty exciting. There we go. Mitch Villa, shout out to you. So you can pre-order my new book. And it says there, I'm currently working on the new book. Well, I'm actually not. It's done. I've finished it. I've finished writing the book. I've sent it to the publisher, and now the publisher is going to be working on it for the next few months, getting it to look really nice in a book. And then it'll be released. So that's really exciting. All right, we are going to play through this. That was a really long way to say we're going to be playing in position and not, alternating. I do recommend playing from both positions, by the way, guys, so you can get a good idea of what to do from the other side. But because I wanted to be focused and specific today, this is why we're sticking to one position. Honestly, this is like one of those queen high boards, probably some mixing. Shout out to Valenzo for the follow. But yeah, I'm not sure if I even said this yet. I'm going to make so many mistakes today, guys. Blind versus blind is a lot tougher than, say, in position against a big blind. But making mistakes is good because it means that you're gonna learn. I wonder if we can click on practice rather than classic. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Hugo says bet 1.9. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking as well. We get raised, and I don't think I want to continue, so I'm going to fold. Okay, 19 out of 19. Go me. Let's have a quick look. But yeah, look at this. So there's so much checking going on. 9-7, mixing between bet and check, but you can just see how wide our range is. We've got some of these suited hands. We've got all of these offsuit hands, and a lot of the stronger hands in here as well. The small blind has quite a lot of these Queen X hands, offsuit Queen X, and all of this suited Queen X as well, which is why I think there's so much checking on these Queen High boards. Okay. Okay, cool. The beauty of this practice function is that if we get one of these wrong, we can just carry on and not, the hand doesn't stop and we don't have to click retry hand or replay hand. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, that's one of the things. Okay, so I'm going to check back this time. Queen high board again. I'm going to check again. And versus a block. Okay, I'm going to throw it over to you guys. I'm going to, make it easy for me and just put the onus on you guys. So what do you guys like to do on the river here? Do you fold, call, raise, or jam? Rafa, thanks for the follow on Twitch. We're flying now. We're well over 3,000. Absolutely flying. Lee says fold. Graham says fold. Okay, a lot of votes for fold. I'm going to go with you guys. I'm going to see what happens. 36 out of 43. Let's have a look at where we could have made some more points, guys. And it is on call. Okay, so Lee says, consider making a play with the ace of diamonds. 419 DMC, how's it going? Good to see you. Says, if we had a diamond, we should jam. Without, we should fold. We've got call, we've got showdown value, we should call. Yeah, okay. So looks like call is the higher frequency line. Folding seems fine, but we should be calling more frequently. Let's have a look at the betting range for the small blind for this small bet size. We really just want to see some hands weaker than our hand. So there's some king 4 in there. That's weaker. King 6 off. That's weaker. There's some 7-6 off as well, and some 6-4. So yeah, it looks like there are some worse hands for betting for this small size. But on the whole, like it's a lot of value with an 8. It looks like betting blocking or betting small with an 8, betting bigger with a jack and a queen, some queen X just going for a check, and then that's kind of it. Okay, 4-3. That's a weaker hand than ours as well. So yeah, there are some bluffs in there. So it looks like call was the line. All right, this ace high board. We said there's a lot more betting on ace high boards than on king high boards. TWV7 Wooketh, thanks for the follow. But remember, look, this is all the ace-x hands missing from the small blinds range. We've got a lot of ace-x hands in our range, even like a lot of the weaker ones at some frequency. So I think we see a lot of betting here, and if we bet small, we can call a check raise. Fenric83, thanks for the follow, appreciate that. And so that's where I'm going to go. See a call. All right, now this is where it gets interesting. Do we fold out enough king X on the flop? The king of hearts is unfortunate because he's going to call with king X of spades, king X of diamonds, king X of clubs versus a small size. So the king of hearts doesn't reduce any of those combos, right? If it was like king of diamonds or king of clubs or king of spades, then it could do. So this is this is a pretty interesting spot. Some of the king X has to fold though, right? Some of the king X does have to fold. The king highs with the backdoor flush draws, I think, and even a hand like king 5 off, king 2 off will continue. But I'm not sure like king 6 off, king 7 off, those kind of hands, do they continue this sort of region here? These offsuit hands are just going to have to fold. So it's a lot of these suited hands, I think, and so Hugo says bet big. What does everyone else think? We've got check. We've got a smallish bet, 40%, 4.6. I probably would go for something smaller than that, but maybe a third and a 75. I always like to try and make the two bet sizes far enough apart where it's really obvious what the strategy looks like. And then we got jam as well. Funny Money says barrel set up river jam, so that would be the 8.6. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the geometric sizing. 3/4 pot would leave us with 16, 17, 28 with 6, 18. No, that can't be right. This maybe not geometric. Let's just consult the trusty geometric sizing spreadsheet. So there's 24.8 in the stacks and 11.4 back. Yeah, so the geometric sizing here is actually 2/3 pot. So we are going to be in a situation where we have less than 3/4 pot on the river. Fenric says check raise. Well, we're not going to be able to check raise here because we're in position. So if we checked, we're going to see the river card. Principal 22 says check or bet. Mitch Villa says 40% would leave a pot size jam. 4.6, 9.2, 20.6, and we'd have 20.2 back. Yeah. So roughly pot size. Yeah, you're right. Well, this is an interesting one. I guess as well, like we'd be trying to get some better 5x hands to fold, like the queen 5 off, jack 5 off, or jack 5 suited maybe. So those hands, we block some of those hands that will fold. So I think this is an interesting one. We could get some like queen deuce suited hands to fold, jack 2 suited, stuff like that. So I do think that there are some arguments for both betting and checking. In terms of sizing, I'm not 100% sure. Honduran Knits is now following. Thanks for the follow. Master says, bet he is folding queen X, jack X on no flush draw turn. Yeah, so that's the other thing. We can get a lot of those better hands to fold, not just the 2X and 5X hands with the gut shot on the flop, but some backdoor flush draw type hands as well. So, yeah, I'm going to go... to be honest, we don't need to bet too big then, right? If those hands are all going to fold, then, you know, if he's got like queen 9 of diamonds, then we can bet really small and he's gonna fold. HH Desire, thanks for the follow. So yeah, I'm gonna go 40%, and okay, it's definitely not 40%, so it's either bet or bet big or check. Okay, so it must be check. Doubt we're gonna see a jam, but we will see. All right, 8 of spades on the river. I think we'd probably just give up now. I'm pretty interested to see like what happens on this turn. Maybe it's like high frequency check because of the King X thing we were talking about earlier on. But I'm going to fold and see what happens. 27 out of 27. Okay, so King High turn, we do a lot of checking. And we bet like Deuce X as a bluff. Ace X for value. We're doing a lot of checking with under pairs. The fact that Kings checks at such high frequency and Aces doesn't suggests that there's a lot of King High floats or reverse floats on the flop. Yeah, so all of these King X hands that we talked about, a lot of the offsuit hands are going to fold, but the hands with a pair or a gut shot are going to continue. So that, I mean, that's all what we said, which is good. But there is a lot of checking back on the turn. So yeah, we want to take even weaker hands, because these draws are not quite as good as, what did we have? 7-6 off. Mitch says, check back is interesting. Guess if we bet and get check raised, we have to fold. Yeah, exactly. Do we have to fold? Yeah, probably. How often is he going to check raise, though? That's the thing. He doesn't have many really strong hands, right? There's some straights in here, some 2-pair in here, but not a huge... Yeah, we have a lot of strong hands as well. But yeah, that's a fun one. All right, let's keep going. We're gonna see how we do. The paired boards, I think there was a decent amount of betting, but also so checking as well. If there's a check raise here, and this is a... I don't think I would fold if I had King 10 of diamonds or King 10 of clubs, but I am going to fold here and take a look. 27 out of 32, so checking back looks better. Well, can also call a check raise, so there's a chance that I'm massively overfolding versus check raises here. Let's have a look at our strategy. So on the whole, way more betting than checking. Small size is the one that's used, which is good, but our hand potentially just doesn't really benefit from too much. Like, folds out a lot of weaker hands. A lot of the better hands are going to call, like the King Jack suited, King Queen suited, stuff like that. So yeah, probably just doesn't make enough happen for us to want to bet. So I think that's pretty good to see. Oh, nice hand. And then facing the raise, we should be calling at some frequency. Yeah, even with hearts, we have to call that. King 10 of hearts is gonna call on the flop. So that's that's a good one. I'm gonna retry this one fixed and check back instead. Obviously, we know he has 8-5 suited, right? He checks again. We're still very far ahead of a lot of the king highs and other hands. And he rips here, and I'm just gonna fold. Okay, 43 out of 43, getting better. Ace high board, I'm going to go for a bet and see what happens. We face a raise again. Wow, this small blind is seemingly very aggressive, but obviously it was just 2 hands, and he's just like playing like the solver. Queen jack off, not sure. Honestly, not sure what we want to do here. I think we can fold out some slightly better hands by betting. Okay, well, I'm going to go check instead then, because it looks like small bet was wrong. Now I'm going to just go bet, turn, jam river. Depending on the run out, obviously. But yeah. Okay, so what did we do? Bet small, yeah. So we could bet big. Let's have a look at the overall strategy here. There is some small betting, there is some big betting, and there's quite a lot of checking. Queen jack. I suppose like if we bet small, then the king highs and ace highs are going to call, but if we bet big, we can get some of those king highs and ace highs to fold. I'm actually going to retry this one again, because I just want to see what effect the 2/3 pot bet has. Oh, funky size now. Maybe just jam, honestly. No, clearly not. Okay. So this is what we wanted to look at. So yeah, versus the big bet, you're actually starting to get some of the weaker Queen X hands to fold, even with a backdoor flush draw. You get like Queen Jack of Hearts to fold. In here, you can get some King X hands to fold, some Ace Highs to fold. So big bet's just going to function a lot better in this spot. So that's good to know. All right, this is one of those spots. I was just about to say, one of those boards where we'd expect to see the small blind lead, because we looked at this earlier on. So I'm going to call with a straight draw. And I think I'm just going to keep calling. And now over to you guys. So we've got two options. We could check, we could bet half pot, or we could jam. Now remember, this is one of those boards where the small blind gets to lead fairly frequently. But what do you guys like to do here? Let me know in the chat as I shout out C. Cosby for the follow. Appreciate that. We are flying today, guys, in the follow account. If you've just joined us, we hit 3,000 followers on Twitch for the first time. So thank you so much for being here, because that is awesome. And thanks for following as well. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to, then hit the subscribe button so you know when we go live. I know there are some of you watching on YouTube. R Blue says is following, so I appreciate that. We've got, let's look at this. We've got bet 50 or jam. We've got jam. Master of the Chaos says this has to be a jam. Interesting to know like what the small blind bets twice with and then folds. I guess he could have like some flush draws that are better than our hand. We block the nuts, which is really important when you're bluffing. Hard to show down jack high, bet 9.5. We have one of the worst hands on the river. We might jam. So by jamming, we're going to be able to get some one pair hands. I know it's two pair on the river because the six is paired, but we're going to be able to get some one pair hands to fold because of the nature of the board. It's a paired board and there's 4 to a straight. If we bet 50%, I'm not sure those one pair hands fold. I think it's too much. So I feel like it wants to be a jam or a check, like in terms of our whole range. Do we have any hands really that benefit from betting half pot? Probably not. Like if we have a 7 or we have Queen Jack or Jack 7, we're probably just going to want to put all in. If we have a full house, we're probably going to want to put it all in. Could be wrong about that, of course. I've definitely been wrong in the past. Lee says he wants to check back. Try and tell me why, guys. Why do you want... I think this is one of the things it's difficult to do on Twitch, right? Whenever I do a session live, I will always say to whoever I'm working with, whether it's a small group or one-on-one, I'll say like, why? You know, so you say like, I want to check back, or we've got we have one of the worst hands on the river, we might jam. It's kind of getting there, but having one of the worst hands you land on the river with is not always a good reason to bet. But we have some good qualities here in terms of blocking the nuts and unblocking some folds, right? Lee says, still think Jack High can have some showdown, but not sure, to be honest. 10x if we want to bet 50 maybe. I mean, this is going to be good to see, right? My intuition is that we wouldn't use bet 50 here. We'd either, we have like 7x and better that wants to jam. Because I'm not even sure that you can jam a 6 here. Maybe that's just me becoming a nit in my old age. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see. So I think we're going to go jam and see what happens. Okay, 36 out of 36, so definitely jamming. But remember, guys, it's not just about like what we do with this hand. Then we want to see what we're like. If it is just, as I said, look, we don't use the half pot size. Can you see that, guys? We're just using jam or check. So we do get to jam a 6. Okay, well, I'm a nit. But we are jamming a 7 and better, so straights, full houses. We get to jam, actually we get to jam jacks and better. We don't get to jam a 10. Can you see that, guys? I know someone was just saying if we have a 10, maybe we can bet half pot. We don't want to do that. We're just going to check back. I was on the right lines, but I think we can go a little bit wider in terms of jamming jacks sometimes and jamming a 6 as well. Not too bad. Lee says Byron versus Byron, I think you can jam a 6. Again, so like Lee, obviously I know you. I want to push you a little bit more than that comment, right? So what I mean by that is just because it's blind versus blind, that's not a good reason for being able to jam a 6. If you think because it's blind versus blind, the ranges are so wide, our opponent's forced to call with a lot more than they normally would because it's blind versus blind. that's a much better answer. Can you see how like going into like a better level of sort of understanding and thinking is gonna get you further? I know it's like, you know, you might not want to type all of that, and that's where it can get challenging on Twitch, but you know, we're here to learn. So obviously this is MTT Poker School. I want to try and get you guys to think and to articulate your thought process on an even deeper level if we can. So it looks like all of the Jack X hands jam. Someone who just said jam this Jack, don't jam the Jack of Spades. Looks like the Jack of Spades does jam. This hand is just bad enough where we can just send it. Well, as I said, we do block some really strong hands. What did our opponent end up having? Oh, just a full house. Oh, that's fine. Jack 2, Jack 3, Jack 4 are our bluffs. Other jacks making a pair, they check back. Yep, I think you are correct. Jack 9, Jack 8, even pocket jack sometimes. King high and ace high is just going to check back as well. Queen jack is the nuts. So yeah, pretty good. Let's see how wide the bot calls. I'm going to do this just to make it easy. So a 7 is a straight, 6 is trips. 10x with a queen blocker. Queen 10 calls sometimes. Ace 9 calls sometimes as well. Why is that happening? Why is ace 9 betting? Sorry, calling. Maybe just you know, just has to. You know, we don't bluff many ace x hands, I don't think, on the river. That's a straight. That's trips. Okay, there are some ace x hands. Not sure then. But you see all these offsuit. All these ace x hands that just check back. So very often when you see that there are no ace x hands bluffing, it's much better to call with an ace than it is without. Now, if there are a lot of ace x hands that bluff, then calling with an ace and then whatever your, you know, ace 9 is going to be bad. Okay, so we've gone for just over an hour. I think we might wrap things up there, but I want to just sort of run through the process again, just to sort of reiterate what happened. So at MTT Poker School, we've got a really clear system for helping you improve. And what that means is, or the way that it works, is that we want to first identify where you're going wrong. And that's, you know, as all of you know, in poker, that's called a leak, right? If you're missing out on EV somewhere, or you're leaking EV, we need to try and fix it. Then we need to work on a plan to fix it. So first of all, today, we identified that we're not attacking small blind limps aggressively enough. And then we looked at preflop and said, okay, let's take a look at the strategy. We just focused on one stack size. We focused on when the small blind limped, and we saw, okay, this is what the overall strategy wants to look like. And this is some ideas that we got. Small players want to jam. Some ace-x hands want to jam. Pairs and big hands, or big ace-x and broadways want to raise. Suited hands generally want to check back, and the offsuit hands are the ones that mix. That's a pretty big heuristic. Everyone should be able to recite that now. When you go into your game and play, and you're trying to play more aggressively against a small blind limp, then you got those ideas in your head. The question, I can answer this, but I want to see what you guys think first. Why is it important to attack small blind limps? Why don't we just be like, well, you know, it's probably not that bad. Let's just check back. Why is it important to attack those small blind limps? Whilst you guys try and come up with an answer, I'm just going to carry on through. So we looked at the preflop strategy, then we went into postflop and we explored the charts, right? The imposition report, which was awesome. And we explored these, and we had a look, and we said, okay, king high board's not as much checking as we maybe thought. But we looked at all the other, you know, situations as well, some low connected stuff, some monotones, some paired boards and stuff like that. And we got a sort of general idea of what the strategy might look like. But then we want to try and apply it, and so we go in and we actually, you know, play some hands and see how we get on. And through all of that, what's going to happen is you're just going to become a lot better at attacking small blind limps. And attacking small blind limps doesn't just end pre-flop unless the small blind folds. So it ends, you know, can end all the way down to the end of the hand where we're bluffing with jack high, jack 3 off. So yeah, that's the process. If that's something that really interests you, if you are a part-time or recreational player and you want to learn more about this, how we can identify many more leaks, then first up, join my Facebook group. I'm going to type in the command into Twitch, and I'm going to copy this across to YouTube as well. In the first instance, join the Facebook group. There's plenty of information in there about Train and Play Like the Pros, which is my flagship program. If you want to find out more, then you can message me, or you can check out the Facebook group and get you the details. We're having loads of people coming through the program. It's great to see. We're building a fantastic community. So yeah, definitely get involved if it's something that interests you. Let's go back to these questions now. Chase says to drive EV for our good hands. Okay, it's a good idea because the small blind can otherwise realize their equity for free. Lee says, difficult for villain to play out of position and we take the lead with an uncapped range. Mitch says, stealing the blind, small blind can get a free flop. We're in position. Hugo on YouTube says, attacking small blind limps defines his range. Cool, yeah. So if I just show you, where is it? Is this the one? Let's just go back to the small blind. So this is the small blind strategy. And I mean, you can see that they don't fold very much to begin with. If you don't attack small blind limps, I should have run the HRC sim for this, but if you don't attack small blind limps 40 to 45% of the time, the small blind can limp 100% or can VPIP 100% of hands. Now, you don't want that to happen. You don't want anyone to be able to play 100% of hands. They limp, you check back because you're not attacking, you're not applying pressure to the weaker parts of their range. And suddenly, that you're playing post-flop and they get an opportunity, as some of you have said, to see a flop for free. So that's really important to do that. Now, again, if the raise size is smaller for the big blind versus a limp, they're going to be able to raise more frequently. And that's then actually going to have an effect on this range, which is probably going to get rid of hands like 9-2, 9-3, 9-4, 8-4, 7-3. Those kind of hands, I think, will probably just fall out. Because the big blind is going to attack the small blind limp a lot more frequently. But because this has been set up for a 4x raise, the 4x raise doesn't happen as frequently, and therefore the small blind gets to limp, as you can see, 9-2 off, 9-3 off, stuff like that. Okay, right. As I mentioned before, join the free Facebook group. It's free. There's about 4,500 members in there now, learning about tournaments and supporting each other to get better at tournaments. So join the Facebook group. If you want to find out more about Train and Play Like the Pros, I definitely recommend it. And I'm sure there are lots of people watching today who are in the program or have gone through the program and are still here learning more. So, which is awesome. So shout out to you guys. But yeah, definitely join the Facebook group, find out more, message me, by all means, DM me, let's have a chat, and we'll see how we can improve your tournament poker game. That's going to do it for today, guys. Hope you are doing well, enjoying January, enjoying the new year, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.